Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's a special episode. We have on the line Cynthia Gallardo, who is the CEO and founder of Launch to Legacy Academy. Cynthia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, Adam. Thank you very much for having me today.
Oh, I'm excited to have our favorite legacy lady on the line. And for those of you that don't know that branding or who Cynthia is, we're going to do a deep dive into what that means. And also, we're proud to announce that Cynthia will be an upcoming author in one of our latest business leaders books. So, Cynthia, just want to start off by saying congrats.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this group, Adam, in this environment, this synergy that you've created. So thank you for allowing me to do that.
Fantastic. And we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, Cynthia, with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Cynthia, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Cynthia, what mission matters to you?
Well, thank you, Adam, for asking that. I appreciate that. The mission that really matters to me is, well, as you mentioned, my name is Cynthia Gallardo, your favorite legacy lady. So my mission is to act as a catalyst for entrepreneurs who are struggling to transform a business idea to a vision, to a reality, to a profitable business by discovering their unique business DNA to launch, build, and protect their legacy, and which is their profitable business, right? In this case, entrepreneurs or anything, any part of their legacy. So, in a nutshell, what that means, my mission is really to assist individuals, entrepreneurs from a holistic approach, the inside out, to launch, build, and protect their legacy. And I can't wait to get into the details of that with you.
Awesome having you on the show, and again, great to have you in the upcoming book. And I think let's just take a couple steps back. And I'm just curious. So how did you get on this path to really wanting to help entrepreneurs and the whole theme of legacy? Like, where did all that start for you?
Thank you for asking. Well, legacy has always been something so important to me. Everybody has a legacy, right? We all have something that we want to do now, live and leave a lasting legacy. So it can be a business. It could be many different things with an individual. So I focused on entrepreneurship in this particular case because there was a particular point in my life where my husband and we were working full time. I was working in corporate America for almost 15 years. I loved it, Adam. I love helping people become the best version of themselves. So I had moved from a frontline associate, and up the ladder, I guess you could say, to a leadership role. But we wanted more flexibility in our lives. And my husband was a full-time welder. So we decided, you know what, we're going to put a plan in place to be able to transition from employee to CEO. And that's exactly what we did. We started working our plan, and there were a few bumps in the roads. Our regular salary was coming in, and so we kind of got lackadaisical, like a lot of us do, and we just put our plan to the side. But something really prompted me, pushed me to move forward. That kick that I needed, right? So
Yeah.
I was actually, and I remember the day so vividly to even today. When this happened, I walked into my office that I had worked, like I said, almost 15 years, right?
Yeah.
I'm giving the best of myself. And I remember the moment. It was sunshiny day. I walked in my office, my head, laughing, smiling at everybody. And I was let go from my job, actually.
Oh, wow.
It took me a long time to be able to say that. And actually, I guess you could say, for lack of better terms, and it took me a long time to say this, fired. I was fired,
Yeah.
let go. And I really spiraled into a deep depression at that point. But you know what? I had a great network of people, friends, and I was able to look at things from a new perspective and really
Yeah.
move forward and put that entrepreneur plan in place. So I always tell people this, it's all about perspective, because sometimes the things that happen in your life, you utilize that to push you forward to the next step. And that's exactly what my husband and I did. We started our own business. We still have that original business now. And then we have other businesses, such as the one I'm speaking to you about today. So that's basically my story in a nutshell. Something pushed me forward. We already started the plan, but now here I am, a serial entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, and I want to help others do the same.
What an amazing story. And I want to stick kind of in the early days a little bit longer because I know that there'll be many that watch this that are, either they're when we're recording this, end of 2022 going into
Yes.
2023, a lot of displacement, a lot of pivots, a lot of different things going, a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe had businesses that were going that were, completely lost during the pandemic. And now as we come out of that, maybe going into the recession, right? So a lot of
Yes.
lot of things going on. What are some of the things that kept you strong during those low points or those dark days? Like what got you through it?
That's a good question, Adam. And all of us need this, right? Because there's so much going on. And before I answer that question, I always share the statistics, right? The U.S. Labor Bureau and statistics, they talk about small businesses. And I
Mhm.
always give this disclaimer: there's nothing small about a business because there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
But just by definition, it's considered a small business, right? So with small businesses, within the first year, almost 30% of businesses fail within the first year. But what I
Mm,
try to do is I focus on the positive, right? The ones who can survive. And then most businesses within the first 10 years, at least 70% of those businesses fail. So I always try to help individuals know that it's okay. You're not alone. There's always someone out there who's been there and done that.
mhm,
So that's what kind of leads me into the next step. I surrounded myself, my husband and I, as entrepreneurs, and then now
mhm,
even in the current field that I'm in, or the industry, always surrounded myself with a strong network of individuals who have been
mm,
there and done that so that I can catapult forward more quickly and basically learn from their positives and also from the opportunities that they may have
yeah.
gone through. So I always consider it like a hurdle. If you can avoid the hurdle, just go around it and don't go have to go through that. You don't have to experience that negativity. You just move around it and you overcome it. So it's kind of like a guide, a map for us. And that's what I always offer to people as well, being that GPS to be
Mm.
able to assist them. So I hope that answered the question, Adam.
It does. And
Okay.
I think having that strong network and being able even to ask for help, right? And I like the way that you kind of even position this as saying it took you a long time to even realize or even be able to say what happened, like to be able to
Yes.
ask for help and to lean on your network and to be vulnerable like that. Like that's a big deal. And I feel like that's
It
part of
is.
what kind of not only allows, healing depending on what's going on, but also allows you to learn and move forward. And then ultimately maybe the proverbial, right, make lemonade out of lemons, right?
Right, exactly. And I love what you said there about the healing too, because that's
Mhm.
why I always say it's a holistic approach to business because it's from the inside out. You can't really
Mm.
excel in your business if you don't feel positive about yourself or aren't able to move forward from that perspective. So thank you for bringing that up too.
So let's spend a little bit of time on the upcoming book, and I do say a little bit of time for everybody watching. Just so you know, we will be having a second part of this interview, so don't worry. We'll be bringing Cynthia back on, and we'll do a deep dive after the book is live. But for today, we'll keep it a little short. So Cynthia, what are some of the ideas you plan on proposing in the upcoming book release?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that because your favorite legacy lady, Cynthia Gallardo. I have to talk about legacy. So when you think of legacy, it's about that positive footprint you want to leave on those around you, living it now, and then leaving that lasting legacy. So
Mm,
in the book, I'll be talking about legacy, how you can do that from an entrepreneurial or business perspective, and I'll
mhm,
be able to share the 5-step launch to legacy
mm,
blueprint that I've created. That's part of the Launch to Legacy Academy.
mhm,
So I'm so excited about being able to share those 5 key tips. And also, something that is intertwined into each of those 5 steps is my secret sauce, my
mm.
favorite secret formula that is intertwined into those. So I'll just share with you a key part of that. I won't
Yeah.
give you all of them, right? Because I want to make sure you read the chapter, read the book.
Yeah.
But I will share the first one because it's that holistic approach, right? Is save
Mhm,
yourself. So before you can move forward in your business, you have to save yourself. So I always give the example of somebody traveling in an airplane, which I know right now a lot of people don't really want to do that. But if you travel in an airplane, if there's an emergency, then
mhm,
oxygen mask will come down. And the first thing they tell you is, who do
mhm,
you put it on? You put it on
mm,
yourself first, right? So that you can save the person next to you. And
mm,
that's the first step in the synergy or save yourself blueprint that I've created. So
mm.
there's 4 more steps, and I'll include those in the book as well.
Yeah. And yeah, and good. We'll pause there and we'll be bringing you back on to get the rest of those once the book is live so that people can obviously read it. So let's circle back to launch the Legacy Academy. What was the plan behind this? Like, what was the reason for starting this?
Thank you. So, Launch the Legacy Academy is basically it's been a heart driven project of mine because I'm a lifelong learner, as
Mhm,
I'm sure many of us are, and those listening in today. We all want to learn more to excel and become the best version of ourselves. So I always
mhm,
think about it this way: if you think a body of water, a stagnant body of water, it becomes smelly, murky. Well, we don't want to be that, right? We want to
yeah,
be moving forward and continue to grow and excel. So I created the Launch the Legacy Academy to be able to help individuals who want to, move into that transition or role from employee to CEO and do
mm,
it on their own time, but also
yeah,
having the guidance and the support around them, that synergy to be able to do it. So basically, anyone can jump in and really
mhm,
start creating their business. And as my attorney hat on, I don't always put that on, right? Because you have to open the door. But once I put my attorney hat on, then I can assist from the proper business formation. I can assist
mhm.
with any other additional information that they may need or utilize at that point.
Yeah. What do you find is one of the big pain points or some of the big pain points that keep people from kind of making that leap and making, that business dream a reality?
Yes, well, I will say this, just from my own personal experience, as
Mhm,
I had mentioned earlier, it's a feeling of overwhelm. In fact,
mm,
my parents live in South Texas, and if you know anybody in South Texas, there's a lot of deer that travel certain times of the
yeah.
year. Well, when you think of headlights, those
Mhm,
big lights coming on, and a deer gets stuck, and they get stuck in the headlight look, right? And that's what
mhm,
happens with a lot of individuals who have these great ideas, but it's that deer in the headlight look. They don't know what to do or where to go.
mhm,
There's so much information out there on the internet. There's so many people saying this on one side, that on the other side. So it's a feeling of fear,
mm,
um, fearing that you'll fail, but it's okay if you do. You just get back up and move forward. The overwhelm and
yeah.
just not knowing how to get started. That's what a lot of people need to overcome in order to do it. But I will say this, Adam. I learned so much from my son, who's 5 years old. And I
Mhm.
think about it. Remember earlier I talked about the idea, the vision, the reality,
Oh,
the
yeah.
profitable legacy. Well, if you think about that, when he puts something in his mind, he sees it. He doesn't think about,
Mhm,
oh, what if I fall or do this? He just looks at that final vision, right? And he moves
mhm,
forwards and put that plan into place and does what he needs to do. And
mm,
that's exactly what we need to do is learn from kids like that, right? Just make it happen. Just do it. Get that idea, that vision, that reality, and make it that profitable business. So I
mhm.
always encourage people just get started because where will you be in 1 year?
Yeah.
Next year, when you're thinking about the same day as listening today, where will you be? Well, if you don't do anything, you'll be stuck, right? You'll become
Mhm.
that stagnant water we talked about, which you'll be smelly, right, and murky. We don't want that. So we want people just to do it, move forward.
So you mentioned, putting on that lawyer hat that you have. How does that help you working with entrepreneurs?
Yes. So I think that gives me a competitive edge, right? Because there's
Mhm,
a lot of people out there who can assist to a certain point, but I can
mhm,
do that as well. But I can also open the door of opportunity from a legal perspective. So once
mhm,
we get that attorney client relationship going, then I can help with the business formation, I can
mhm.
help with trademarking.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that I can assist with because, as I mentioned earlier, I taught everything I do is based on legacy. That's the umbrella. So one of the fields or one of the pillars that I work with is a federal law, the trademark law, and I'm able to assist individuals in really um, protecting. Remember, I talk about
Mhm,
launch, build, and then we get to the protect phase, and I can help them protect their legacy with the trademark by protecting their logo, their tagline, slogan, and even their the name, right? So,
yeah,
for example, one of the things with my particular law practice, it's Cynthia Gallardo Law, and then
mhm.
Legacy Law Boutique because I offer different aspects of my practice, and I've been able to trademark that
Mm.
piece.
Yeah, and some of the basics when you talk about things like business formation, trademarks, other things like that, like, let's keep the lawyer hat on a little bit longer, and, I don't
Sure.
wanna assume we hear these terms often, and I don't wanna assume that people understand the importance of doing these things properly. Do you care to comment on that at all?
Yes, of course. So it's I always think about it like building a house, right?
Mm,
When you're building a house, it's like building a business. It's a comparison or an analogy I use. So if you're building a house, and I'm going to give you a great example in
mhm,
Louisiana, right? So I live in Louisiana. I come from the north. In the north, we
mhm,
have to have basements because a basement have tornadoes in the area. Well, if
mhm,
you have a basement in Louisiana, you're going to get flooded because we have a lot of
mhm,
floods here. So it's better to have house on pillars or strong foundation, right?
mhm,
So you have to think about the foundation and where you're building your home or your business. So always building it correctly from the ground up. And I talk
Mm-hmm.
about you can do it as an LLC, a limited. You can do it as an incorporated, a C corp,
Mm-hmm.
and what we call C corporation, S corporation. There's so many different things that you can talk about. But when I talk about formation, that's what I'm talking about. You could have an LLC, an S corp, a C corp, and each one may be good for you in a certain circumstance, just like the house
Mm-hmm.
in north or the house in southern Louisiana. You have to understand what the circumstances are and make the right choice. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just don't know, and that's where you seek out additional counsel or guidance to be able to do that. And also it affects you from a tax perspective. I'm not an accountant, but you always want to have make sure that you have one in your pocket, in the sense that it's part of your team to be able to do that, right? So you have to have a strong team as you're working through these things. And I always tell people, part of your strong team should be legal counsel, right? To be able to work and make sure you have somebody there to ask questions. I hope
Now,
that helps out.
absolutely. Now, I understand that you are also already an author. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, so I'm also an author and I'm so excited about it. I've written a children's book, and you can actually go to www.dnaandmeseries.com, which I'm sure you'll share with the group, but
Mhm.
it's www.dnaandmeseries.com. And at that location, you'll be able to find the why behind it. But the book is called You, Me, and DNA. It's
Yeah.
based on real people. So this is my nephew Gavin right here. So it's based on real people, and it's a scientific approach to understanding why we look the way we do. And
Mhm.
the backstory, basically, in a nutshell, is my nephew was bullied in school for being
Mm.
biracial. So this book allows him to understand why he looks the way he does from a
Mhm.
scientific approach, right? The DNA,
Mm.
part of it coming from his mom and dad, and it really increases their self-esteem and decreases bullying. So it's a way to help individuals feel good about themselves, just like in business. We all
Mm.
are unique. We all have our own special sauce that we bring to our business. So it's the same type of concept that I utilize for children.
Mm. Now, one of my missions, and one of the things that we work at over at Mission Matters and strive with constantly, is encouraging other people to tell their story. And in our tagline, really, we amplify stories. But whenever I speak or anything else, my goal is to say, your story matters, and it's to get everybody to share
Yes.
their story. And regardless of the format, whether it's becoming a podcast host or writing a book or blog or whatever, social media, doing a live, I don't care, but I want people to tell their story, because I know the more people that tell their story, the more people that can benefit from hearing that and can also be helped, right? So I'm
Yes.
curious, from your standpoint, like you've obviously already published a book. You're going to be publishing another one with us. Why do you think publishing and books still matter? Why is that important as a means to get your story out there?
Well, that's a great question. I will say this, Adam. My mom has always taught me the importance of reading, and the same
Mm.
thing you said, that really helps you in so many different ways, right? Building that brain, the mind, the imagination. So having a book in print is critical to making sure that we're able to, whatever our goal may be, to move to that
Mm.
next step in our goal. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I've done it from a children's perspective. And then my in the future, I plan to also have, well, with you, of course, that's the most important thing as part of the mission, being able to publish and get the story out there. And part, like you said, I love your tagline as well, where you amplify stories and
Mm.
story, because we all have a unique story. I talk in my mission statement, or what we talked about at the beginning,
Mhm.
is that the unique business DNA. And part of that DNA, it's 5 S's: strategy, structure, support, synergy, and then your story. So, what's the best way to get your story out there? Through a book, making sure it's out there to let other individuals know, and how it can really build that connection with individuals and help them move forward.
Mm. All right. So, speaking of another medium and way to get your story and form out there, so Legacy and Me podcast. I love
Yes.
having other podcasters on the show because number one, I just love the podcasting community. I mean, I love promoting other shows, and I definitely want my audience to go and check out your show. So, tell us a little bit more about what they can expect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Adam. And I do love that, the collaboration, right? Because I always say, It's all about collaboration versus competition. There's so much
Yeah.
more we can do with that. So thank you for highlighting that. So Legacy and Me podcast, because as I mentioned, your favorite legacy lady and the legacy piece, I carry that into the podcast. My goal is to make sure people can share their story as well as an entrepreneur, because there's somebody else out there who needs to hear the story so that person can then move forward. And so each person has the potential to be a catalyst for somebody else. And that's the reason for the podcast, to hear the story and hear where they've been, where they are now, and where they plan to go. And once you have it out there in the universe for other people to hear, we really basically have to do it, right? So it's almost a way of automatically putting that plan in action for people, for individuals, for entrepreneurs to be able to be successful in reaching their goals.
Yeah. And so, what is one of your favorite things about being a podcast host? I'm always curious to ask that one.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I will say one of the greatest things is I always love making connections with people.
Mm.
I love meeting new people, understanding where they came from, their story, their
Mhm.
legacy, what legacy led them to where they are now, and what they plan to leave for other individuals, or that footprint they plan to leave. And that's one of the key reasons. And actually, part of my creed, my personal creed, my business creed is leave every interaction with a net positive. So
Mm.
that's what I do on my podcast, right? Because you hear so many negative things out there in the world today. Well, why
Mhm.
can't we leave something positive with individuals? So whenever I always tell people, it's not a math equation. No worry, we're not in school right now. But if you think about the basics of things, right, Adam? You have
Yeah.
a positive and a negative. Well, that just leaves it neutral. There's no net benefit from that. But if
Mm.
you have two negatives, you always want to leave at least three positives so that you can leave a net positive at the end of the conversation. And
Mm.
the Legacy of Me podcast allows me to do that. Always leave a net positive with every interaction I come across with individuals.
So I'm sure that some people will watch this and they're going to say, I've always wanted to launch a podcast, or I've always wanted to write a book. And, just like starting the business, like something's holding them back. What kind of words of advice or tips would you give them on going out there and doing it?
That's a great question. And I will always say to individuals, just do it. Think about my son that I mentioned earlier. If
Yeah.
you have that idea, we have such great ideas out there. You just have to do it. And
Mhm.
if you don't do it, you're never going to move to that next step or that next step. And it's okay to be afraid, to have that fear, that
Mhm.
deer in the headlight look, because there's so
Mhm.
much information out there. But the biggest thing I would say, because I've done this and I've learned this from personal experience, surround
Mhm.
yourself with individuals who've been there and are
Mhm.
doing that successfully. That will assist you in being able to get started more quickly, and also to reach your goals more quickly. And
Mhm.
I always share that experience. Just think of a kid. Think of any kid out there. They put their mind to something and they do it. We need
Mhm.
to do the same thing as adults.
Fantastic. So, Cynthia, first off, it's been great having you on the show to get to know more about your show. Upcoming book, obviously, we're going to get more into that, bringing you back on the show because we'll do a deep dive once that book is
Yes.
live. But that being said, I have to ask, what's next for you? I know you got maybe a children's book coming up and some other
Yes.
things as well. Like, tell us what's next.
Thank you so much. So I appreciate you asking that, because that's part of my legacy, right? What's the
Yeah.
next step? So I would say this is a series, You, Me, and DNA. So my next one will be based on adoption, because I talk about the biological for children
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
this book. And then the next one will be from an adoption
Mhm.
perspective. And my second book that I'm excited about that will be coming out as well is Business with a Twist, talking about the unique business DNA. And of
Mhm.
course, the one I'm very excited about that'll be coming very quickly is the one with Mission Matters.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. So it's just the best way to share a positive story, that net positive with individuals in
Mhm.
a shorter period of time. So thank you for the opportunity, Anna.
Amazing. And Cynthia, if somebody's watching this and they want to learn more either about your current books, they want to follow your business, they want to connect and get in touch with your team, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Thank you. Thank you. So the best way, you can go to my Instagram at Cynthia Gallardo Legacy, of course, the favorite legacy lady, right? So at
Hmm.
Cynthia Gallardo Legacy is for my Instagram, and my website is www.cynthiagallardo.com. And then you can also, for the book, the children's book, go to www.dnaandmeseries.com. But I always tell people, I know my last name's a little unusual, Gallardo. So if you think of the Lamborghini Gallardo, boom,
Yeah.
boom, zoom, zoom, right? Gallardo. So think of Cynthia Gallardo or Gallardo.com.
Perfect. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so that they can just click on our audience can just click on the link and head right on over and check you out. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time engaging with or listening or watching a Mission Matters episode, we're all about bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission, really what we can all learn and gain from that story so that we can all grow together. That's the whole goal here is growth. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, hit that subscribe button because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Cynthia, it really has been a pleasure having you on the show. Can't wait till we get to do it again. So thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure. And thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it, Adam.